Hmm. This is going to be a deep conversation. Hmm. This is going to be a deep conversation about. Woo, I kind of don't even want to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it because I know there are people out there who will need to hear this to feel like they're not alone. Um, I'm going to be talking about some things that happened to me when I was young, you know. Um, this is going to be a little bit of a sensitive topic where I talk about abuse. I'm going to talk about molestation or being molested. I'm going to talk about uh, how that affected me. Um, so, okay. So, when I was younger, from earliest memory to late teens, 17, um, I used to be very, very depressed. I was honestly depressed more than that. I was depressed beyond that. I was depressed until I was actually 24. And then I actually started to really start to be able to myself, um, build myself back up to a place where I am now, which is still slightly depressed, but it's not like an every day and every other day and every week or anything like that. But anyway, let me get to the point, or the story. So when I was a kid, a little young kid, I was the youngest um, in my family for a very long time. I was the youngest. I was the baby of the family for until I think I was the youngest in the family until I was like 11 or 12. Um, and when I was younger, like 3, 4, 5, and even 6, I lived with my grandma, my father, and my auntie and her kids. She had a couple kids. She had 4 kids, and God, this is kind of intense to say. Um, so when I was living there, I I was abused, um, and treated like shit. Just to be completely honest, um, by my auntie. Um, my father was never around. He was really young. He's 15 years older than I was. So I think at that point he might have been like 20. Guessing, I'm just guessing, close to 20 because he had me really young. Uh, he was a drug dealer. He was about that hood life. And so he was never home. And I had to I had to rely on people in my family to or in my household to take care of me basically while he was gone. Um, I grew up really, really poor. Like, and when we were living in that house for those years until I was in first grade, um, I literally didn't even have a room. I would literally just sleep in on my grandma's bed. Um, my dad had a room, but the room was empty. I didn't have a bed. I didn't have a place for my things. I don't even know where any of my things were when I really think about it. I don't know. I can't remember at this point where any of my things were, like clothes and toys and da da da. I don't really remember that, or even having much of it. I know I had a truck, um, but anyway, my first memory um, in life that I really remember even to this day was, everybody remembers a memory, but my first memory was basically sitting down on the couch, or not sitting down on the couch, sitting down on the floor with my cousin, third cousin, and we were just watching TV, watching Channel 11, um, and for some reason, I was just like, I hate my father. I'm like, I hate my dad, you know? I just hate him. And my dad heard that because he was in the back. He was never around, but in this moment, he was around, I guess. And honestly, I didn't know why I said it, but I just said that shit. I just said it. And my dad heard me, and he whooped me or whatever. And then when I got back out there, I said it again, and he whooped me again. So, yeah, that's my earliest memory. But that's like my first memory. But back to my auntie, she was very abusive to me. Um, she used to whip me a lot. She used to treat me like shit a lot. She used to look at me crazy a lot. I remember one time, uh, when I was sitting on the couch, she told me to get off the couch, and sit on the floor. I did used to pee on myself when I was asleep. I guess because I had anxiety, and of course, like I said, my father was never around, and so I really wasn't necessarily being raised by a certain person. It was kind of like a group effort, I guess you could say, even though it wasn't a group effort, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I wasn't really allowed to sit on the couch. I usually just had to sit on the floor. Um, but there was one incident that I remember where my auntie was coming home, and she had to she came home late at night, and I was playing with my cousins who were all awake. And so when she got off work, she saw me up, because we all ran and went to sleep, blah blah blah. And she saw me though, and so she ended up whooping me and stuff, which I thought was weird because I was the only person that got a whooping. Like, I don't know why that happened. But yeah, so it was kind of like she was very very rude and very very mean to me. Um, and I really couldn't explain why. Even after we all separated and went our own ways, she still had that same type of energy towards me. A very like, I don't like you, get the fuck away from me, da 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 type of energy. And I was just a child. Um, okay, so when I don't want to cry, but my oldest cousin that lived with us, um, he used to. I think from what I understood later in life, my first cousins and stuff like that, they were into some shit with them and like kind of like into some like incestual type of shit. I guess it was like practice or I don't know. But I just remember my cousin coming into the room where I slept because I used to go to sleep on my grandma's bed, and he came in there early one morning. When my grandma wasn't there, his mom wasn't there. I don't think any of his siblings were there, and he came and laid down next to me in the bed, and I really didn't know why. He never did that before. Um, and he was touching me basically, um, inappropriately. Um, at that age, I really didn't understand or get it, you know, and I never said anything about it. I kind of just let it slide and let it go, like because I didn't know any better. Um, but I soon found out that he was also, like I said, that they were all kind of doing that type of situation. So I was like, okay, well maybe this is like a normal thing that people do. I don't know. So I kind of like fell into this cycle, and I don't know. I can't remember if it happened more than just that one time, but and when I was that young, but I definitely remember that, you know, and I remember that they used to be into that type of shit. Um, to the point where like I said, I thought it was a normal thing, and so I kind of was like, well, if this is something that we all do, then it's something that I should be doing too, I guess. So I ended up, you know, in a certain situation, like kind of like, I don't know if you call it hitting on or whatever, one of my cousins. And, of course they were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And me not knowing that this is not something that's normal was like, oh, okay, well, never mind, da da da, you know. And it's crazy because when I look back at that, I'm like, wow, I was really fucked up. Um, but that was just like my younger years, whatever, when things were, kind of simple, whatever. We moved, and it was the same kind of situation. Actually, it got worse because at least when we were there, I had people there. I had kids there sometimes, but when we moved and it was just me and my grandma and my father, I had no type of sibling connection around me at all. Um, and I was very, very lonely. It was a very lonely child. And so I ended up, getting a cat and all this other shit. And I was just a regular kid, regular fucking kid. And I remember one time when I was home alone at night, the toilet broke. There's a little piece that keeps the black ball in the toilet, at levels or whatever, right? There's a screw in there, and that screw was old and rusty and it had broke. And so the water from the toilet, from the back part of the toilet, was overflowing. It was just the water was coming out nonstop, and there was nothing I could do about it. Um, so I went downstairs to my neighbor. My neighbors didn't answer the door. They just said, "Oh, we'll just call the police." Me not thinking, oh, I'm here and I'm home alone and this thing is happening and I don't know what to do, and I just knew I was gonna end up getting in trouble because of the water or whatever. And I ended up, long story short, cops came. They came when my dad was, they came, and then my dad came, and then when they left, my dad beat me, of course, even though I told him the situation. He didn't really care. He just was mad that, that the police got called, um, which wasn't really my fault. I had no other option. So I felt, I didn't know how to feel about that. I don't know, it just made me sad, I guess, because it was like, damn, like it wasn't even my fault, and he still beat me as a result of it. And I just didn't understand why you would beat your child and when no one was there and I didn't know what to do. I digress. My father used to always say that he was always taking me everywhere with him when I was younger, but he did, but he would always leave me with people. So I was always, left with his friend or with his girlfriend or wherever, and actually one time when I was over his girlfriend's house, he got mad at me because I wanted to go home. And so he took me home, or he was about to take me home, and then he ended up getting arrested right before he took me. And I was really sad. And then he literally got out like the same night or whatever. He got bailed out. So, but I was still really devastated from that because I've never seen my father get locked the fuck up in front of my face. So that kind of traumatized me. Ooh, excuse me. So anyway, further into the future now, I was trying to just give you a little back detail. Um, when we were living there by ourselves, it's like I said, I was lonely and I didn't really have really any friends. I had like maybe one friend at one point, and then like fourth grade, fifth grade, I think I had like two, maybe three friends or whatever like that. I never really had too many friends or whatever. So I ended up getting a cat, and my grandma didn't want the cat, so the cat had to stay outside. I still took care of the cat. I used my allowance and I took care of the cat with my own money. And um, I don't I didn't like the fact that my cat had to stay outside. That like really hurt me in a sense because it was like, damn, this is my cat, and in the wintertime it would be so cold, And it's just like, damn, it's so cold out there, and my cat's out there. So sometimes I would try to sneak her in, and she just was not having any of that shit ever. Period. So it was like, so when we ended up moving from there, which is when I was like, I think I was about to go into sixth grade, just finished fifth grade, and like after the summer, I thought I finished school, summer school. Um, they said we're moving. I just came home one day and they were like, "Oh, we're moving," you know, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, y'all didn't really give me a chance to say goodbye to anybody or anything else. Granted, like the one person that I consider my best friend, he ended up basically doing the same type of thing, and he just never called me or never contacted me ever again. And I kind of was honestly devastated about that because I was like, damn, I thought you were like my best friend, and here I am thinking you're my best friend, and you were, I don't know what the fuck we really were. Clearly I must have been like a gap filler, a time filler, or whatever. And so, um, it was kind of weird because it was like, damn, why is it? It seemed like all the people that were my friends weren't really my friends, and they didn't really want to be around me, or they were my friends for a while, and or whatever. So when we moved, um, I had asked my dad. I was like, "Can we keep the cat? Can I keep my cat? I've had this cat for years, for years. I took care of her since she was a baby. She was mine. Not mine, but she was my friend. And I took care of her. And I took care of her. I took care of her kids. And they just told us like they told me like we're moving. We got 2 days to move and get out of here. Da da da. And so my grandma ended up telling me like um, that same day when I asked her to confirm, like like I'm taking my cat, blah 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 blah. She ended up telling me no, we're not taking the cat. The cat's not coming with us. So of course I was devastated, and I ended up taking my cat and her babies. I tried to take them somewhere because again I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was a kid. I ended up taking the cat somewhere, and then her babies ended up dying. And when I went to go check on her, I found the babies. I found all her babies. All her babies were scattered about and all dead. And it was it was my fault that they died, of course, because I moved them. But I didn't want them to be. I didn't know what would happen to them, and I just knew that I can take care of them. So um, I did that like a dumbass, and they died. My cat was in so much trauma. Her name was Sonia. And she was in so much trauma and so much pain. And I just knew that I couldn't be there for her because we had to go. And I had, honestly, I feel like even though that was my fault, them dying was my fault, I still to this day hold a grudge against my grandma because it wasn't like we were going somewhere where it was just me or it was like we were in an apartment building we couldn't have cats. They literally had bought a property, that they would pay mortgage on, and they so they had the right to say yes and no, themselves, and she was just like no, she's not coming with us. And I was crying. I didn't cry in front of them, but I cried when I was outside, of course, when I saw my cat's baby is dead, and I put it together and put on that face that I would always put on, that blank face, that blank emotionless face, and I had to let it go. I had to let her go, and I did. I had no other choice. And that started my that's when my depression really really started. It started at that point. I don't want this video to go too long, so I'm gonna stop because I'm at the 20-minute mark, or about to be 20 minutes in, and I want to take a little bit of a break. to get myself together so I can continue talking about what happened after that, because that's when a lot of the things that I wanted to talk to y'all about started to happen.